Welcome back, viewers. Unfortunately, you find me one very unhappy tour guide. I've been having some tech problems. Now, as you know, I've been using Kadabra and Graveler, with the mind to evolve them into Alakazam and Golem. However, every time I did this using my emulator's double Game Boy feature, it refused to save. Even save states wouldn't register, which is incredibly annoying, and all my progress from the previous recording session was lost. As a result, I've had to give up on using Alakazam and Golem, which is really frustrating. I did a bit of level grinding to strengthen my team, and I've added some new members in. As you can see, we have Gibson here. He is a Sandslash. He's named after the Gibson Desert in Australia. Moves aren't great, but we'll do what we can. And down here is Polari, Magneton, which I added to my team because it's a good electric type and it's a great defender. Again, not great moves. I'm really cheesed off this system wouldn't let me do what I wanted to. But that's the problem with technology. If it doesn't want to work, the only cure is the all-solving hammer. You unfortunately lose it, but it does help you vent a lot of stress and frustration. Anyway, we're finally going back to the radio tower again. And I'm really annoyed with everything that's happened. So I'm going to take it out on Team Rocket. I'm going to be focusing on Torture as much as I can because he's very close to evolving. So let's go and beat up some grunts. As you can see, the music has changed, and we will mostly be facing fairly basic enemies. And these guys don't do anything with their plan, they're just contacting Giovanni. Why don't they use the radio signal to hold the nation to ransom? That would be a much better plan. Imagine driving Pokemon berserk by forcing them to evolve. That would be a really good villainous plan. But they're pretty much incompetent. Hopefully Torture can beat the snot out of them really quickly. Quick attack's probably coming up. Nope. This discovery has not been a particularly enjoyable one because it's come hot on the heels of a week and a half full of nightmares dealing with bureaucracy. You'll probably find me talking about them in another project I've been recording at the same time as this. I've been doing a few other little experiments along the way, and I do hope you'll enjoy that other game I have planned for you. It will be coming along after this. There's the quick attack. But too late, Torture has the win. It would be nice just steamrolling this place with Typhlosion, but what can you do? Well, all I can do is give my best and recover from here. You will still find people from the actual radio tower hanging around. Team Rocket doesn't seem to be doing a very good job of taking hostages. You'd think they'd be a bit more organised for a criminal syndicate, but what can you do? At least we get to fight an Arbok, which is a decent Pokemon. You'd think they'd have a few more along the way, but no. There are some really terrible opponents, including one guy who has 5 Rattata. Alright, paralysed. Should be able to heal that pretty easily. Take it down. Can't be poisoned, which is good. Away we go! Torture's mad as well. And another one bites the dust. So, Paralyze Heal right at the top. That's been sitting there for some time. Good to have. Alright, what have you got? Apart from being a card-carrying villain. My commentary's going to be a little bit off because I'm pretty annoyed. And to make matters worse, here is the guy with 5 Rattata. Oh well. Flame Wheel is the order of the day, and I apologise for this one taking a long time. I'm almost tempted to just cut to the end of it. The only difference is the levels, really. Really shows how far they've fallen. Team Rocket in the old days probably wouldn't have hesitated to use the radio tower to broadcast that signal and threaten the entire region. They became much more buffoonish probably as a result of the anime. And it's kind of ironic that Jesse and James were actually way more competent, blah. Told you my commentary was going odd. But basically they were more competent when they actually tried to go legit. Look at all the times they steal Pokemon. Things go horrifically wrong for them. All their legitimate catches have been incredibly easy. It's very clear they're good friends with their Pokemon, and their Pokemon love them in return. Not exactly sure how Jessie's Survivor felt, given that she beat the crap out of it with her bare hands. But obviously she was doing something right. Apart from beating it up. Don't actually beat your Pokemon or pets up. Animal abuse isn't cool. As for Pokemon battling, well, this is essentially... It's like rugby for Pokemon, basically. There is the risk of getting hurt, yes, but the Pokemon are having fun with it. Can't say I'm a big rugby fan myself. The local trivia night I go to each week is run by people from Queensland or New South Wales, or at least that's where the questions are compiled. So anytime there's a question about Australian football, it's a pathetically easy one, but anytime there's a question about rugby, it's usually something completely ridiculous, like what were the colour of the underpants worn by the number 8 for Scotland in the 1987 World Cup or something like that. If you don't have a rugby background, you're not going to get them, but most people should at least have a passing familiarity with Australian football. Personally, I consider actual football, like European football, to be the best one, but Australian football does have a bit of an advantage. It has kicking skills as a focal point at least, unlike rugby. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of appeal to rugby, it just happens that I don't see it, and I'm probably biased because I hate getting those questions. So yeah, probably rambling a little bit, but some interesting commentary is hopefully needed to distract from the fact we're facing Rattatas and Zubats. It's probably going to be random discussion topics on one hand, and then bagging Team Rocket for not being very competent on the other hand. See, 2 Zubats, evolve them, for heaven's sake! Somebody had an Arbok, that was at least decent. Oh, come on. At least it's putting up a bit of a fight though, that's acceptable. There we are, powering on ahead. And one more guy on this floor, then we can move onwards. And I'm going to stop that comeback in their tracks. Some things make a return, and you realise why they shouldn't have made that comeback. Grimer for a change of pace. Hold that with its decent special defense. Will I get poisoned? Yep. Take it out with a quick attack, and we should be able to finish this fairly easily. Don't think I'll sustain too much damage, but I can patch Torture up and keep going. Alright, a critical would be nice because I'll avoid a bit more damage then. Oh, not enough. And that'll be the knockout. I think Muck is actually the last Pokemon this guy has. Which again, another surprise. Why don't they have more Pokemon like this? Honestly, the level curve in this game is pretty terrible. I really wish there was more to it, honestly. I've always maintained that if you polished the level curve and made more Johto Pokemon available earlier, and you kept everything that Heart Gold and Soul Silver did, you'd pretty much have a perfect Pokemon game. So you have the beautiful scenery, the harmony between people and Pokemon that is shown on every level. It'd be a joy. I think I'd better patch Torture up. Okay. Whoops. Okay, away we go. Let's see if we can get a burn on it. Good damage, and it's not using Sludge for some reason. It'd tear me apart if it did. That's just the AI roulette, basically. It's pretty much artificial stupidity. And trust me, Mario... Ugh, I gave it away. Okay. I gave it away. My next game is Mario Party DS. Because I've wanted to record that for a long time, but there is some incredible examples of artificial stupidity in that game. On we go to the next floor, and we have a person spinning around in his chair, but he is not a scientist. Similar sprite though. Wait, I didn't want to go back and talk to him. I wanted to go that way and talk to this guy. Alright, well let's see what you've got. What are you going to try and crush me with? 4 Pokemon. Coughing. Reasonable Pokemon. But I can take it down with Flame Wheel. We're getting very close. Not too far now. Grimer, also decent Pokemon. Train him a bit more and this guy could actually be decent. I'll try using Ember. Conserve my Flame Wheels. You'd kind of think that Team Rocket would probably have a focus on defeating their opponents so they can actually steal their Pokemon rather than wasting time with status moves. Alright, level 35. Come on, Torture. One last charge. Zubat. Loses points for that. Golbat is passable. Crobat, good marks. We should be able to finish this part of the radio tower in one episode. There's the underground to go and a second part, and he loses more points for Rattata. I honestly don't think you can take villain teams seriously if they're constantly using weak Pokemon. Like, at least there was a massive variety in the Pokemon used by Team Cypher and Team Snag'em. If you want competent villain teams, you've got to look at Team Rocket in Generation 1 and Team Cypher. If you haven't played Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD, track them down. They are fantastic games. Hey, Wheezing. Now we're getting into the better Pokemon. Too little too late, unfortunately. Torture should be able to handle himself pretty easily. Alright, Smokescreen may be a bit of a bother. But doesn't look like too much trouble. Down it goes. Torture is doing well. He's just as frustrated as I am and is ready to take it out on people. Down here we have our typical scientist type. Actually, let's see, there might be slight differences between the sprite of that random guy with glasses earlier and your scientists. I think he's got 3 Magnemite. Chance for Torture to get revenge for what happened at the Olivine City gym. Revenge by proxy, anyway. Down it goes. Critical hit to boot. Oh, we're close. We're really close. Couple more battles and we're gonna get there. And another one's gone. Well, probably not this one, but the next one. Definitely the next one. We'll have to give him a bit of a break because he has worked hard to get here. He's been leading the charge. And there we go. Yup, next battle. Alright, so let's take a quick look. Yep, there are differences. To talk to him, well, actually, no, not a lot of differences. Very minor ones, I'd say. You have to head upstairs now. Alright, Grunt, let's go. There's a Pokemon coming up that I'm going to use for the main spotlight in the episode, but I'm also going to put one in, given that we're about to get Typhlosion. And finish it with a Flame Wheel. I think for the next few battles, I will use Gibson and Polari. There we go, we've hit level 36. It's been a long time coming. We're there at last. So we've got Golbat. This is a good time to switch to Polari. Sadly, I can't get many good electric attacks besides Thunder. I can get Lock On and Zap Cannon, but I didn't want to use that combo. It's a bit slow. Alright, so what else does he have? Grimer. I do miss the fact that good moves like Flash Cannon for Steel types don't exist until Generation 4. Because that makes Magneton a real powerhouse. Gives it a bit of extra coverage. So there we are. Nice work, Polari. And Torture is evolving. Feast your eyes, dear viewers. We've finally made it. And there he is. He's still ready to go. He's got the dukes up and is looking for a fight. We'll have to give him a bit of a breather, but he will be good to go. And as promised, let's have a quick spotlight featuring Typhlosion. It took a very long time and a lot of work, but finally Torture has evolved into Typhlosion. Typhlosion is a pretty potent Pokemon, having the exact same base stats as Charizard. However, it does have quite a different moveset and doesn't have a lot of great moves available to it in this generation. It can, however, use Thunder Punch very well, so I recommend getting that TM when you return to Goldenrod City. Typhlosion's relatively shallow move pool and the fact many TMs in this generation are physical moves do tend to hinder it, but it fortunately gains many stronger moves in later generations, including the extremely powerful Eruption. This can make Typhlosion hit very hard right off the bat, with its pretty solid special attack and good speed. With the strong variety of moves available to it, Typhlosion will carry you through the Elite Four and the post-game in Kanto pretty well. It's a very dependable Pokemon and stands out quite well as the only final form Fire starter which doesn't have a secondary type, so it already has a pretty good niche going for it. Put in the effort and as you can see, the results are worth it. Alright, we'll keep Polari at the front of the party for this battle. This one features our actual Spotlight Pokemon. It's been around for a long time. Meet Porygon. Porygon is explicitly described as the first artificial Pokemon in several Pokédex entries, and it's a particularly unusual one at that. It can still eat, despite the fact it is entirely made up of programming code and doesn't actually need to breathe or eat. It was fairly unremarkable in its first appearance and very difficult to get, given how hard it was to actually save up game coins. It gained an evolution in the form of Porygon 2 in these games, and in Generation 4 it could evolve to Porygon Z. The Porygon line shares a distinction with the Roselia line as being one of only 2 evolution families which can be in its final form at level 1, because Porygon evolves both times by being traded. Porygon 2 is fairly capable, and also can benefit from the Eviolite, making it a fairly bulky Pokemon, while Porygon Z will mostly focus on hitting as hard as possible. If you somehow manage to get enough money, or catch them in the games where they can be caught, the Porygon line will become a potent ally for you. Right, Torch is at the front of the party. Whatever, let's take him down. Sorry about that, Polari. I'll switch you in for the next one, and you and Gibson can work together. And we've got the burn as well. Tri-attack, pretty useful for normal types, becomes very helpful for Magneton in later generations because it becomes a special move. That chance of paralysing, freezing or burning can come in handy. Bit of a gamble, but useful nonetheless. So there we are, Torch shows off in style. Now, we'll pop Polari back at the front of the party, and we will move on to the last battle for this episode. Let's get rolling. Head up here, and the director is a phony. In the remakes, this is Petrol, who will pretend to be the director, but you'll see through his disguise. And keeping with his slightly incompetent personality, he retains this team, which is pretty much quantity over quality. Fairly decent levels though. This one can be a challenge to some people, but if you'll note, I have a steel type. Any poison type attacks they want to use are irrelevant, and I resist self-destruct. Still no trouble, but I will switch out to Gibson for a little while. Just make sure Polari's accuracy resets. So here he is, making his debut as well. Meet Gibson. And he has Dig, so we'll be able to take care of things pretty easily. I believe it was during this battle, in my failed recordings, that one of my opponents actually used self-destruct while Ruby was underground. Oh, not quite, but Smokescreen failed. Ah well, we'll stick with Gibson. And just listening to this, I'm noting that it's playing the regular battle theme. I hadn't noticed that in previous episodes anyway. Very strange. I thought they would have at least kept the Team Rocket battle theme, but maybe that's only for the grunts. Okay, so a bit over half. Alright, Dig again, and then I'll switch to Polari. At least there's no artificial stupidity this time. Oh, crap. I'll stick with Slash for now. Yeesh, at least it's not using poison moves. I mean, we resist those, and Sand Slash is fairly tanky too. Wow, that was a critical hit? Gee. Guess Wheezing is tankier than I thought. Good experience for Gibson though, but I'll switch back to Polari just to make sure we can hit things. I'll basically alternate between these two to wrap things up. It's nice having competent opponents, but you do kind of wish there were slightly stronger ones. I mean, they can't really do much. I probably could be using Sunny, but then again, if she doesn't take them down in one shot, she gets nailed by a poison move, and that's a problem. So this next one for Polari, and then Gibson can take out the last one. Well, that was a complete waste of a turn. Alright, that wraps it up for Polari's contribution, level 33. One last coughing for Gibson to take care of. Down we go. I'm really disappointed none of them are trying to explode on me. And there we are. Oh, almost. Anyway, we have won this particular battle, and we're going to find out where the director is. And he's very kindly given us the key. You know, he really didn't have to. So that wraps things up pretty well for us. In the next episode, we will be in the underground, ready to charge through Team Rocket's hideout there. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you in the next installment of our scenic tour through the Johto region.